not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Lisa and Robyn are two fun friends diving deep into conversations where nothing is taboo. They believe in eating dessert before dinner and wearing the bikini. They're allergic to labels, authority, and cheap shoes. Currently, they're launching themselves through life being the good time, bold enough to take risks and inquisitively asking, what's next? They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, "Curiosity killed these cats." Your hosts, Lisa and Robyn on the mic.
Welcome back to Lisa and Robyn on the mic. You are listening on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live, Facebook, YouTube, and catch us any old episode on Spotify. And just a reminder that these views do not represent WSMN.
Correct.
And its associates or affiliates or anything like that.
Right.
It does not.
They are entirely my own.
Okay. Rapid fire psych surfing is the next set of questions.
Psych surfing, uh-oh.
And I do want to get to...
You are going to witness a live therapy session. Psychoanalysis.
And I do want to get to our dreams, because I want to do this, and then I want to get into our dreams, and then the valley of despair and disappointment. Yes. So I hope we can get through all of it in the next hour. Yes, because
something that Jordan Peterson and Tony Robbins were saying this morning kind of ties into this.
Okay, ready? I'm going to ask you these questions rapid fire. And I'm not going to answer them because you're just going. Okay, ready? It's like a game show. Okay,
right, I'll do my best.
The best advice you'd ever been given.
Oh, that's a lot. But the first one that comes to my mind is when raising my kids. One of the most impactful was never lose sight that that you're raising a man and you're raising a woman. Who do you want them to be? How do you want them to be?
Okay, perfect. What is the best advice you've received that you didn't follow, but you were glad you ignored it?
Say it again.
The best advice you received that you didn't follow and that you're glad you ignored it.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, we'll skip it.
Because, here's the thing. You know, my family was not against... I was the first one to move away to the Cape when I moved, and I was told, you shouldn't do that. You could, go. I was told a lot of things I do, but it was the best decision I ever made in my life.
For you?
Yes.
Okay.
So it wasn't great advice. It was good advice from a parent or from a perspective that was trying to keep you safe and to keep you in their known.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You get through tough times by?
Laughter. Sarcasm.
When in doubt, you?
Do both.
Okay.
I don't know.
My joy comes from?
Connection.
You value?
Relationships.
You believe in?
I believe in God. I believe that we're powerful. I believe that we're all connected by the energy. So if we're all connected, I believe that we are part of God. I believe in manifesting. I believe that we get to create. One of the biggest things I believe is we get to create the life that we want, and we can have everything that we want.
You're dead set against?
Flesh-colored leggings. I don't know.
What you know to be true.
What do I know to be true? I think what do I know to be true? Your gut.
Yeah, I like that one.
My instinct.
The color of joy is?
Ooh, the color of joy. Gosh, I feel like yellow, maybe.
The sound of joy?
The ocean. No, I don't know.
The scent of joy?
Flowers.
Love smells like?
Hot, sweaty sex.
Yep.
No, I'm just
in my it's your first thing. I
feel like we're doing a Mad Lib here.
Yes. In your body, appreciation feels like?
Say it again.
In your body, appreciation feels like?
walking down the stairs on Christmas morning and having that magic, that excitement. That's what that feels like.
You know you're happy when?
I know I'm happy when... I don't know. I don't know when I'm happy. I'm going to try to be happy all the time. I'm happy when I can see the positive.
Okay. If delight
joy.
were an animal, it would be?
Oh, I don't know. A kitty cat.
Ecstasy lives.
In all of us.
Pleasure feels like?
Pleasure feels like... I don't know. Cashmere against your skin?
Okay.
I don't.
When you whisper the word bliss.
Kiss.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So let's see if that's the end of these. Okay. All right. So I'll do mine.
All right, do you want me to read them to you?
Sure.
Okay. Here we go. The best advice you've ever given.
To do something you love, don't worry about money.
Love it. The best advice you've ever received, and you're glad you took it. I want to change my answer.
Yeah, it's really funny because
I know.
You can do these over and over again, and I think
is.
your answer changes. That I'm glad I took it. Buying my first house.
I would. One of mine was be you.
Mm-hmm.
The best advice I ever received and didn't follow, and glad you ignored it.
My guidance counselor told me I should do a career in math or science.
I get through tough times because
I laugh.
Okay. When in doubt.
When in doubt, persevere.
My joy comes from. I really do think
Peacefulness.
Yeah. I was going to say I really think my joy comes from within. It's because I have to choose it. I value.
Choice.
I believe in.
Our connection with nature.
I'm dead set against. Ugly
Big government.
Oh, that's good. What I know to be true.
You have to figure it out for yourself.
I would say after like giving some time to think about it, what I know to be true is the more that you love yourself, the more that you can love the world.
Yes.
I think
like
that. It changes your experience. The color of joy.
Orange.
The sound of joy.
Baby's laughter.
Oh, that is good. The scent of joy.
Tuberose.
What is that?
It's a white flower that smells amazing. Or jasmine. Nighttime blooming jasmine can smell like joy.
I like hyacinths too. I think that's well.
But it tends to be flowery for me.
The I love the oh my gosh, what are they? Lilacs.
Mm-hmm.
Love smells like
John.
Ooh. In my body, appreciation feels like
warm.
I know I'm happy when
I'm tingly.
If delight were an animal, it would be
Bird.
Probably a hummingbird.
Yeah, I love that flighty, like
yes.
When I
whimsical.
look at them, when I see them flying around, butterflies.
I change firefly.
Firefly, very magical.
Ecstasy lives.
In the positive.
Pleasure feels.
Inviting.
When I whisper the word bliss.
I think of sunsets.
That is good. That's it?
That's for that, yeah.
I love it.
We could do these all day.
Oh my God, I love it.
But I want to talk about dreams. So now I really highly recommend this book. It's called The Desire Map. I was writing it in highlighter for a while, and then I was just writing it on a notebook, because you could do these exercises over and over, and it's good when things change.
What's actually, you could actually just write it small, and so you could write like 4 of them in a box, and then you just keep going, because you could actually fill up, and then you look back, write a date by it, and then you can see how far you've come and how far you've grown, and you can look back, oh my gosh, 3 years ago I said this. Here's my answer today.
And you can know what you were going through at a time period too.
Yeah.
But now pretend that you've kind of like, okay, I have this dream and I'm going to try to realize this dream. You're going to try to write a book. You're going to try to exercise. Maybe your dream is to become really healthy, and that involves exercising. Your dream is to live independently until you're 100. And so that means you got to do your squats. So you can get off a toilet by yourself. You know, you can go up and down stairs. You can lift groceries. Think of what, you know, we think of working out as to be skinny and to be beautiful and to be hot, and to, you know, for a guy it's to, you know, be strong. But what if it's just to live independently as long as you can?
Yes.
Right? Don't fall.
Yeah.
Because you die 6 months after a fall, after a certain age.
Don't break your teeth.
But you have your dream, and now you have this auspicious, like, the beginning of the quest, the beginning of the journey. You're excited, you're motivated, you're inspired, right? And now you have all this energy. But then you get into the middle where the inspiration wears off, the motivation wears off.
The excitement is gone, and you feel like it's just work.
Gone. Yeah, now you're
grinding.
You're in there. And then when you're in there for a period of time, a disappointment happens. And you were talking about this the other day in your TED Talk, that dreams come with disappointment.
Yes.
They're just because the word is a dream, which is this very beautiful, aspirational, inviting word. Disappointment, which is not a inviting word. It's not a, you know, it's got the whole other feeling to it.
Yeah.
But it's part of every single thing.
Well, I think that sometimes, a lot of times when we think about dreams, maybe I'm wrong, but I think once you feel like you have your dream, all your problems are going to be solved. Like a lot of people think, I'm going to win the lottery, and if I just had all this money, it's going to be solved. No, it's, you know, dreams do come with problems. It's new levels, new devils. It's the more that you are trying to elevate yourself or your life is when you're going to face another challenge. And if you cannot forget that in the process, sometimes I think it takes some of that feeling defeated or deflated, or the lack of action moving forward. So sometimes, you know, we get in a stale spot. But sometimes that stale spot is, instead of saying like, well, I'm stuck or I can't go any further, maybe it's just sit down and be still and just say, well, what are the options? What direction can I go in? What can I look at this a different way? Am I willing to see, you know, being a great problem solver? Instead of looking at it as, well, that's a roadblock. Well, is there another path? I think a lot of times people have a hard time calling out their dreams because they don't really know what their dream is. And that's what Jordan Peterson and Tony Robbins were talking about today. And I just tried to capture a little bit of it while I was driving, so forgive me. He said something about, inner conflict and lack of clarity keeps us from taking a chance on ourselves and setting higher goals. Because sometimes we say we want something or we're dreaming about it. And again, we have touched on this a few times. We say we want the big house, or we want to own our own business, or we think that we want something, but then if you actually take the next step and say, play it through, why do I want this?
So in your dreams, you want the outcome of what the dream represents for you, but do you want to do the work associated with the dream? For example, how many people want to be a musician?
Right.
Be in a band, whatever that is. How many people want to spend 8 to 12 hours a day practicing an instrument?
Who was the basketball player that he called out and said he practices 500 free throw shots every single day? So you add that up, like without fail. So that he can do that and make the shot like the 1 out of 30%, or he has like a 30% chance of making it. So he practices 500 times a day throwing that shot on a 30% chance that he'll make it when the time is right.
Mm-hmm. But do you want to be the basketball player on the court? Do you want to be the person shooting 2 million free throws?
Yeah, a year, every day.
And so you have to pick your hard.
Right.
Are you willing? And then to get into this just for one more second, at some point the disappointments just pile on. That's just the way disappointments are. They get together, they group together. There used to be this commercial for not dandruff. It was like some commercial for a vacuum or for something about cleaning, and they showed dust, dirt, and dander roll out from underneath the carpet, and they were all dancing, right? And that's how our disappointments are. They group together, they come out, and they start partying. Our disappointments, right? Our problems and our obstacles, they get together. And then you get through this point where you're in the valley of despair, and you consider quitting, giving up, and if you have spent your life when you were in the heart of it, in that valley of despair, giving up, you have no practice for finishing. And so then you go to the next new shiny thing, because that's where all the inspiration, the motivation, and the energy live, is in the starting.
But we have to find things constantly that are motivating ourselves and to our dream to keep pushing forward. And that's why I said, if we don't have the clarity of what we really want, because I don't think it's safe. And I love when we've said that all over, doing 75 hard, Andy Frisella is like, you choose your hard. The truth of the matter is we do choose our hard every day, whether to be overweight or to diet, whether to be in a healthy home environment or to be in a healthy or an unhealthy home environment. Like literally, if you're in a bad relationship, you are complicit in it. You are choosing to be in a bad relationship because your lack of inaction is keeping you there. If you start dating your spouse, if you start adding the romance to it, we spend so much time waiting for somebody else to fill our cup, to fill our needs and our wants. And yet we don't do a really good job expressing it or putting it out there. We expect somebody to love us the way that we're meant to be loved, but yet we don't do it for that other person.
And you even think about it for children. We want to pick up our child's problems because we love them so much. Well, in doing that, we don't give them the ability to problem solve on their own.
Right.
We don't give them the confidence that they need to know that they can handle hard things. Start out with something small, right?
Yeah.
If you can't handle the small things, and then you go out into the world, and the world is hurling big flame and big things at you.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm going to hunker down and not leave because this is horrible. And no one ever gave you the opportunity to fix your own problems.
Yeah. So here's a good example. Stupid and silly, but I'm going to share it anyway. The other day, and I wasn't feeling good. I was, I have a cold, and Chris is sick, so I don't care. He was already sick. I'm not going to give it to him, so I don't care. I was in the kitchen making breakfast, like Saturdays and Sundays. We usually do a late breakfast, 10:30, 11, sometimes 11:30. But everybody's there, and it's a big breakfast. We have a big breakfast. And a lot of times he'll put on music and it's playing through the house, and he'd gone into the great room, and he's standing there at the bar, and I was standing in the kitchen, and I'm like, man, I miss being kissed. There was a country song on, something about being kissed, and I was like, you know what? I want that passion. I want him to grab me and passionately kiss me. And I'm like, you know what? Everything that I've been talking about, no. So I stopped everything that I was doing. I walked in there, and I was like, hey, do you have a second? And I just gave him a tongue passionate kiss, and he's like, what was that for? I'm like, because that's how I want you to kiss me. And I'm like, I'm not going to wait for it, so I just took it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I had to do my part in it.
Yeah.
Instead of waiting for him to do it, I have this expectation like, dude, I want you to walk in the door and ravage me.
Yeah. Do you know that men who kiss their wives before they leave for work live 4 years longer than those who don't?
Really?
Yep.
I believe it.
So there is this, and I'm going to butcher where it came from, so I won't pretend to do that, but it says that you should hug for at least 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Because that deregulates the nervous system. One of those chest bump hugs does nothing.
So the next time, or you just randomly text one of my children and just say, what's the 20-second rule?
Okay.
Because when they were arguing, I would love for you to text them and ask them
Okay.
what it is and then get the feedback for it. Because we are huge. Hey, your mom asked me, what's the 20-second rule when you were growing up? Do you want me to tell you, or do you want to just find out and get back?
I'll find out. and
All
get
right,
back.
we'll get back.
Okay. 'Cause
So
I'm gonna ask
stay
each of
tuned.
them.
Next
Stay
week.
tuned. And then there was also 6-second hug 6 times per day. Try to fit in 6 hugs per day with your children, your spouse. 6 hug a friend, hug a business person. I guess in some corporate Americas it's gonna be inappropriate, but think about human connection.
Yeah.
I'm a love language. Touch is
Yes.
a love language. Food is also my love language, but I don't think they put that on the
Yeah.
5 love languages, but it is for me. And it's that nurturing. It's also that satisfaction,
I'm a touchy-feely. It's usually like there's not a time when one of my people are passing that I don't put my hand on their head or I touch their shoulder or just something. And so it's funny when my kids were little and they had just met Chris's son. I'm teaching him to ride a bike. He's like 5. He's 5. My kids were almost 7. And, they're young. They don't know. They haven't seen me other than my best friend's kids that they've grown up with. So they don't even think anything differently. So here's a strange kid. And I am Southern. And I'm like, come on, sweetie. Come on, honey. And my kids are like shooting daggers at me. And I'm like holding him. I'm holding him up on it. I'm trying to teach him how to do his bike. And I'm like, good job. High five. And like, so they're all of a sudden witnessing me give the energy that I've given to them. And they're like, what are you doing? Like they felt threatened.
yeah, a little jealous.
Yes, like, oh my God, my mom is showing, now they understand like that's who you are. That's who I am. But I was like, wait, it
That
was
you
just,
weren't giving something precious away.
yes. And like that it's not like, it was just funny to watch them get so upset and being like, wait, if she gives that away, then there's none for me. Or it's anything like, what is she doing? Like she just, no, now that they're older, they look at like that's just who she is. She's going to put love out into the world, and that's who she is, how she is.
So I will give you a family thing that happened, and it's going to make sense to every single person based on another person. For example, I'm not going to say who this person is, but everything from I would say, oh, I want another cat. They would say, but what about the other cat? They'll be jealous. And I'm like, I have enough love for 2 cats.
Yes.
Right? So I think love cannot be divided.
No.
I don't think love can be divided. However, if your experience is you have a sibling that parents particularly felt really good about and then
Yes.
were particularly negative to you, or, somebody else became a favorite, or when someone else came through and your family got divorced, now you got shuffled off to another family member. There are all
Yes.
kinds of reasons where people learn that love can be divided instead of love is multiplied. So
Yes.
I remember, and I used to say to that person, I have enough love. Like, I have enough love. But you could see that they distinctly didn't think they had enough love. And I don't know if that is because that was how they experienced love, that love was divided when somebody else came into the picture. But it is a real thing that people think that, you tell someone, I heard someone saying that they were having another kid and they were like, oh, don't you think 2 is enough? And it comes from them feeling like there's not enough love for 3.
Yeah.
There's not enough time. There's not enough energy. There's
But
not
they're
enough
so young.
resources.
They're so young. They don't know.
No, but people get that their whole entire life because
Yeah.
they've had an experience and they've never had the experience of something different. And I was an only child and I wanted a sibling, and I was often told, you don't want that because you'll have to share your toys. And I thought, but somebody will play with the toys with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they were trying to make
Yeah.
me think I didn't want a sibling because I would have to divide.
Right.
Instead of, no, I'm multiplying. I'm multiplying
Well,
me's.
it goes back to operating in the negative. It's like, it's a lack-minded mindset of saying, like, there's not going to be enough.
Or there's an experience where they had to divide that the love that was given to them, they felt was divided.
Right.
And sometimes that is true. Sometimes, you get a sibling and your parents get divorced, and now a spouse leaves, and now, a parent leaves, they get remarried, and now they have new families, and now you've distinctly felt like I've now
torn
have
and
half.
divided.
Yes,
Yeah,
and divided.
yeah.
So I can see where that comes from. But if you can try to realize that love can only multiply.
Well, I think the more you give, the more you receive.
Yes.
And what I think is interesting is, like, what I would challenge people to do is say, what does my day look like if I operate in abundance? If I operate with a feeling
But say somebody's
of abundance,
never
of
felt
every-
abundant. They've never felt abundant. So how would they know what abundant feels like if they've never felt abundant?
Ooh, that's true. But I can't imagine we'd get through life and not have anybody feeling like, I don't know. I guess what is your definition of abundance?
More than enough. Right? So
Yeah,
so
like a surplus, an overflowing.
and I think that's why so many people love Thanksgiving as the holiday, but then distinctly don't like Christmas. So for a long time, I didn't like Christmas. And it wasn't until I had my own experience in my own house of making Christmas what I wanted Christmas to be that I started liking Christmas. But I was distinctly, and I grew up Thanksgiving, I didn't have good Thanksgiving meals, and my Thanksgiving was 50% of the time my family would be together, and because of divorce, 50% of the time, every other Thanksgiving, my family would be halved.
Yeah.
That, I understood the premise of the abundance of Thanksgiving, but then once I was able to practice it, I made Thanksgiving twice a year. So Thanksgiving was in November, when it's always Thanksgiving, and then I would do a Thanksgiving on the summer solstice because we had the abundance.
Yeah.
It was another reminder that we have more than we need. We have enough. We have more than we need. And if you've never felt like you've had enough, then think of your problems. And you go, I have more than my share of problems. I have more than enough problems. That feeling of overwhelm is the positive of it.
Yeah.
It is coming from there. I don't think it's going to.
I don't know where it is. I don't know
Very,
where the
very
crack
top.
is.
We're trying to find the sunlight that's beaming into my eye like a laser. But,
Well,
but you know what? I like it. I like it. It's vitamin D.
All right. So to answer your question, I think that if you haven't experienced abundance, if you don't know what that means, I would suggest that you start going out and giving. Because I think
Give
that's
your time. Be generous with something.
just even a smile. Even a smile, like whatever you're feeling is a deficit inside of you. If you're not happy inside, go out and make somebody happy. Go and try to make somebody happy. And I think that that's where because we operated from, it's easier for us as humans to operate from a lack-minded mindset. I don't have enough food. I don't have enough gas. I don't have enough this. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough, I don't have enough for retirement. I don't have enough this, or I'm not smart enough to do this. It's always a lack. It's always I'm not good enough, or a thing. Operating from a place to say, well, maybe you don't have it, but I think in order to get, you have to give.
And it's where, if you're not feeling good enough, you're not feeling like you have enough time or enough money, it's in the role reversal of that you look outside of yourself.
Right. So if you're not feeling good about your body image, your self-image, or, whether it's not like, whether you're not even overweight or what, maybe you just don't, are not feeling, you're insecure about the way you look.
I'm insecure about my wrinkles that I won't Botox away.
Go out in the world, and I challenge you to talk to the guy that, swipes your credit card for lunch, or the waitress, go give someone a compliment and tell them that they look good today. If that's like, if where you feel like your body, where you're lacking, go out and try to bless somebody in the place that you have a deficit in.
Right. And do that repeatedly.
Yes. And practice it. And then I think that you're going to start finding like, oh, people are going to stop, because we get, life is a mirror. Everything is a reflection of what we're feeling or what we're experiencing. We are creating our own experiences. And so if we're putting negativity out in the world, if we're going to, bitch and complain about traffic, and we're going to bitch and complain about work and all of this stuff, guess what you're going to get? You are not feeling, if you are feeling insecure, and if you feeling like you're out of control, or if you're moody, if your vibration, your energy, your level is that way, and say you're a contractor, or say you're a real estate agent, or say you're in a place where you have to actually have a transactional situation with a person, do you think that you're going to attract your ideal client being negative and always focusing on the problems? And you're going to get that client. You're going to get the same kind of client. It may not look the same. Mm-hmm. It may not look the way it feels inside. But I think about, Chris had an example. I will use Chris as an example. Sorry, buddy. He was going through a really stressful spot in his life, and he decided that he was feeling a little bit of a lack, and like a little bit of concern about where, economy's changing, it's coming into winter, construction, remodeling slows down, and he was trying to, forecast, but he had gotten, a couple of bumps, couple of setbacks, and it could be definitely defeating, because now you're like, hey, I'm the provider. I have to take care of my family.
I have to take care of my crews, because not only am I the business person, these people are my employees, and they rely on me to have enough work that they feed their families too.
So he's responsible not only for his family, but the families of his crew members. And so, a couple of things happened and setback, and he got into this negative energy space. And then he gets two clients, and literally it's the worst nightmare ever. And I said to him, do you think that it's a reflection? What if you started operating on a higher vibration? And he's like, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, let's just try it. So for a whole week, he started operating and not allowing that these two people, he stopped responding. These people would text at 10 or 30 or 11 o'clock at night, and like, is the paint dry in the living room? That's not an emergency at 11 o'clock on a Sunday night. Mm-hmm. He would stop responding to those and setting boundaries so that he could keep his mental space and his energy level positive. And all of a sudden, he starts operating in a higher vibration. And guess what? Those two nasty clients start operating in a different level. So I do think that it does, everything reflects out. We're getting a reflection back to us.
And if we're not getting the reflection we want, at some point you have to end the relationship.
Yes.
Because we had a conversation where it was, he's like, but work is work, is what he said to me, right? Yeah. Work is work. And it's like, right, but if work isn't bringing in the amount of money that you need, sometimes it's better to rest and find.
Right.
Because at some point, you're just running yourself into the ground and doubling down, running yourself into the ground.
Right. And a lot of times you think about...
But it's so hard for a business person who's always trying to generate leads and money and income to pass business by when you don't
Yeah.
have a lot of business in the pipeline.
Yeah, and
Because you're
everybody
like,
gets into that. It's
every business does.
plumbing. It's any retail or it's any market. Plumbers, construction, real estate. It's all of it. It's everything.
Yep.
It's even hairdressers. It's
Like, do you want the client who every time you cut their hair, they hate it so much they come back and you're spending 4 other appointments trying to fix their hair when you're like, you
But
might not
again-
like your hair.
But so again, you're attracting bad clients because you're in a lack-minded mindset. You're desperate, so you'll take on, and you're not remembering, like, not everybody is an ideal client. If you can actually be still, change your energy to say, reflect what you want. Everything starts from inside. If we're the seed, we are the seed.
And the minute you say you want something, the universe is going to give you opportunities to prove
yes.
that you really
But
do
if you
want
start
what you say
operating that and say, all right, so here's an
'Cause
example
I always
of
feel like there's a test in there.
abundance. So you don't always necessarily feel like, oh my God, I feel my life is so full and abundant. You can, here's an example of lack-minded versus being abundant. I know that I'm desperate for money right now because I want to make a sale. I want to make sure that my crew is taken care of, that I've got food on the table. I've got all these other people to take care of. Instead of feeling that desperate, just say, this is not a good fit for me, and I know it's not. I'm going to lay this one down. Be brave enough to say, I'm going to lay this one down, and I'm going to trust that the right client is going to show up. My ideal client is going to show up. But you also have a responsibility and a job to start reflecting and attracting that kind of person. Set your boundaries. What kind of energy are you putting out there?
I had we'll say a friend that was in a horrible relationship, but that continued to be in the horrible relationship because they didn't want to be alone. But they were always, they knew the relationship they were in was bad and toxic. They knew they wanted and they would tell me, I know I deserve better. I don't deserve this. But they wouldn't allow space for it to come into play. And the only way I got them to actually break up with that person, which they had been talking about for like years, right? And they said about they don't want to be alone, but they wanted to find a better person. I'm like, if you found a better person, do you think they're going to be with you while you're living with another person?
Right.
Guess what? They're not a great,
Right.
That's
Right.
not what you're looking for.
Right.
What you're looking for, but there's no space for them. There's
But
no
now-
room
but-
in your life when
Right.
you're 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, month after month in a relationship that you actually don't want to be in, and is not good for you. How would another person come in there
Right.
when there's no room for them?
Right. You've not left us an opportunity. But again, that's operating in a lack-minded mindset, because even in that relationship, if her focus was not on being lonely, I'm just in this relationship. So
Until I get into another relationship.
her main focus is, I think that sometimes you might have, I don't know the other person, whether they were just horrible or what, but she made a deal with herself that she was willing to sacrifice a love that she wanted because she felt that this relationship was going to satisfy. When you're looking to satisfy, she's looking to satisfy not being lonely. That's her focus. Not on love, not being in love, and not having love. You are holding on to a fear that's lack-minded. And being able to trust yourself and saying, no, it's okay. I'm not going to be lonely. I don't want to be lonely. But
And
when
her
you're living in
response
that
was,
fear of it.
Every person's with someone until they're with someone else. And I'm like, but people are also by themselves. It's okay to like yourself enough to be alone with yourself.
Yes.
Yes, that means you're not going to have a date for whatever. Or, you might have to try to, and again, it is a time period where, all of the friends are married or getting married or having babies, and they just don't, you can't just call on your friend who just had a baby and say, hey, drop everything and come with me to this event on Friday night. So yeah, there is that period of, you may not have the, the amount of people you have to cycle through so that you're alone isn't singly by yourself. But if you are, this is the fourth bad relationship that you're saying that you're now in this other bad relationship until another one comes along, and you won't let go of the bad relationship until this other relationship comes on. You can just keep getting other bad relationships.
Right.
You know what? Be by yourself for a moment. It might be 1 week, and I know how uncomfortable it is. And especially if you're in a relationship for 4 years or 7 years, and all of a sudden now you have to be by yourself. And mentally, the clock is ticking. Mentally, all of these things. All my friends have significant others.
Yeah,
all of that.
Because you're comparing all these external factors about, instead of focusing
But
on...
are you part of the bad relationship?
Right. Where are you complicit?
Are you part of this bad relationship, and now you've had 4 of these bad long-term relationships in a row? You know what? Get set by yourself so that you're okay by yourself, so that you don't need the person in your relationship to be the everything you need to be better.
Right.
Because that's never going to happen.
Never.
So it's interesting it's a business sense. It's in our relationship sense. We have to have, no matter, we talked about this the other night when you were talking about your TED Talk, the dream of a beautiful house is also the maintenance of it, the paying of it, the finding it, the making it.
Landscaping.
The property taxes,
Oh
right?
my, yes.
Every dream has its burden. And every burden, you said, has its blessing.
Yes.
But we have to get through that. But if you quit in the middle when you're in the valley of despair, and this goes for relationships, that you quit when the going gets hard. The reason why, a lot of people don't have long-term marriages, because when it's really hard and you're in that valley of despair, you quit. You don't see it through to the other side. And sometimes, yes, you need to quit really bad relationships. But sometimes they're only bad for a moment.
Yes.
And they do get better.
Yeah, sometimes, you're in a spot.
So if you want to write a book, every single person who does a creative endeavor, and I think about the J-Lo movie.
Yeah.
When she's like, Jennifer Lopez was making this movie, and she's in the throes of the valley of despair, right? When all the problems are multiplying, all of the motivation for why she's doing it has worn off. All of the inspiration is fading. You're in that valley of despair. And what she was told was every creative endeavor has this. There isn't anything that creatively that you're bringing into existence. Any business, you're trying to bring a business into existence.
It's like a birth. I mean, at childbirth, it's painful. It's painful going through it. I mean, you've got your moments where you're pregnant, you're loving your belly and all this stuff and all, but then, you don't
hate your cankles.
Right. Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, I kind of wrote, like on my first thing of, nobody told me about being a parent when I thought about, I want to have kids. Nobody thought about, like, oh my gosh, that means you're paying for college tuition. You're paying for every child you have, your college tuition. You're paying for braces. You're paying for health care. Now, however many children I've got, I'm responsible for cavities in other people. I did not see that. I didn't see that coming. I didn't think about those things. And so all those things can be obstacles. You can choose to look at those as obstacles, problems, or opportunities to grow. I was going to say something about what you were saying. Lack-minded. The blessings coming in. Oh, like even owning the house, the bills and the bills, and like it can be a burden. Everything is a burden to it. If we ask ourselves, but we get to choose. We get to choose how we're going to look at it. We're going to choose to say, this is stressful, this is taking me out, or we can choose to see, what is the gift? What are the beauty in it? Look at my kids. My kids get to go to bed every night in a safe, warm environment. They get to be fed. We get to make memories here. We get to make, this is home. This is where I get to escape from the rest of the world.
It's your respite.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you don't have to repair the roof or why are the sprinkler systems making a puddle on the front lawn.
But if you think about it, like when you plant a garden, you don't think of like, oh my God, I got to go water those things. I got to go deadhead all those roses.
Why do those bunnies keep eating my flowers?
I got to freaking clean out all that. I got to do all those leaves and all that stuff. But no, it's nurturing, repairing the roof. If you look at it, it's like, it is a duty to it's something to maintain. But if you look at taking care of your house as you're taking care of something that you love, you're nurturing it.
And that goes the same for your body.
Yes.
You know, it's if you could change it from this pain in the neck activity into if you decide to say, instead of saying I have to, you say I choose to. So I choose to have laundry.
Yeah.
You know, we complain about laundry incessantly on this show, right? But if we say, I choose to have clean, ironed clothing to put on my body, it's different than saying, I have to do laundry, right?
It goes back into the whole thing about gratitudes. You know, we were talking about gratitude the other day, and like, you know, just getting up and saying, you know, how many times people say, oh, I do my gratitudes. I'm thankful for today. I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for my health. You know, these all sound so empty. And not that they're not heartfelt, but what you're asking is actually sit in it for a minute. Like, and I actually think about, like, when I don't want to do laundry, and I think about, you know, I am grateful that I have a walk-in closet. I simplify the things. Like, you know, I've had a lot of closets. I was renting a house for a little while, and I didn't have enough closet space. There was an extra room. It was like a little extra room that went out onto a deck off of my master bedroom. Chris turned that whole thing into a closet for me. He got like the moving stand, the moving racks and stuff. And I just thought, I've had a lot of crappy closets, but I get the freedom and the luxury to do my laundry. Like, I
have laundry in the house. I don't have to go to a laundromat. Like, I
have to do that. Yeah.
I have to work myself up into remembering, and I don't remember to do it every day. But I did.
You don't wash your comforter as much when you have to go to the laundromat.
Right. I have the answer to the 20-second rule from your son.
Okay.
And the 20-second rule was after we had an argument, we would have to hug for 20 seconds before we could move on from it.
Yes.
Yeah, because it deregulates the nervous system.
Yes. And I'm like, they said if you had that physical touch for 20 seconds. So even I would threaten, I'm like, I'm going to get one of those massive T-shirts, like the, 4XL, and I'm going to write 20 seconds on each side of it. You guys got to hug it out. And there's a couple of times
over the top, two of them, stick them in one T-shirt.
Yes, I told him I'm going to stick them in one T-shirt.
So when you're thinking about your dreams, they should come from your desires. When you think about your disappointments, you're trying to choose your disappointments. So the creative endeavor, you have this point where you're like, it's never going to work. My dream isn't coming to the reality, which also involves expectations. But if you realize that every single endeavor does have this valley of despair.
Yes.
And if you don't quit in the middle of the valley of despair, you can get to the other side of that, in which satisfaction and accomplishment and being proud of yourself. One of the things I never heard from my parents until I went off to college, I never heard the words, I'm proud of you. That wasn't language that they used.
Yeah, I don't actually have to think about that. I don't know that mine. I don't think that was a language.
And I had a friend who every single thing she did, even when it was doing things wrong, they always told her they were proud of her. So it made her getting over her failures really quick.
Yes.
She was
I remember hiding. I remember I hated report card days. I hated it. And it was always like you had to hand it to your parents. And so, I mean, my sister got really good at forging my dad's signature early. Thank God for that. Because you knew it was going to be, you were going to be condemned. You were going to be made to feel, instead of saying, what happened? why do you think you got this? Well, where's your struggle? Instead of like, what, you got to C? How dare you? You got a D on that? You should do better than that. No, instead of it's one of the things, like, I remember that. And so now I've got kids coming home with report cards. I didn't want to make it an environment where they were scared to tell me their grades.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the things that Chris had told me, you know, that his mom had done for him, and I did add it, hey, did you do your best?
Yes.
Did you do your best? And I'm proud of you.
Yes. And I think that's when you have that language as part of your everyday life. And I think you can fear failure less and you can get over failure quicker.
Yes.
Because I did not have people telling me they were proud of me.
Right.
It took me a long time to say I was proud of myself.
So, and one of the things that I've learned, you know, failure is not a person. It's an event. And a lot of times we can't, that's why it's always, it's punishing. It always feels punishing when we have a setback. I was telling my daughter, don't look at it as failure when she got a bad grade, or, you know, her first week of dental school is, you know, grueling. You've never experienced something like this. The level of expectation is 10x from what you just came from. Be a beginner. Be a beginner, and let it be a gauge. Let it be a gauge to let you know that, hey, this might not be a strong suit for me, or there might be something else that I need to learn. It's not a failure. It's a metric to say, oh, this doesn't, you know, this is not easy for me.
And sometimes if you understand that failure is part of all the processes.
Right.
You know, if scientists are trying to figure out something, if they don't like failure, that's going to take them that much longer to get through it, because to get to the right answer, you have to fail at all the wrong answers until the right answer comes. The quicker you can get over your failures, the quicker you can get to your successes.
Right.
But, you know, we have this, nobody wants to feel bad. Nobody wants to feel not good enough. No one wants to feel like, man, I thought I was going to have a #1 best-selling book and it sold 2,000 copies. If I lick my wounds for too long over that, I'm not writing my next book.
Right.
You know, when you get into all of those millions of ways, you know, I made dinner and it didn't taste that great. That doesn't mean you don't make dinner.
Right.
You make dinner the next night.
Right.
But you have to keep, you have to tell yourself that they're not life-ending.
Right. Well, even going back to the relationship.
Or you have to make sure that they don't end.
Or going back to the relationship, you know, she didn't want to be alone and she wanted love. But what can you do to empower yourself to go get it? What can you do?
You're not loving yourself if you're
But
letting
even like
someone
if you
else
say,
treat
you
you
know,
like crap.
say how many relationships, how many marriage are just stagnant or stalemate, and they both have the desire to be loved. Take the first step. I encourage you, take the first step to go get the love that you seek from your spouse. Like, you know.
And your kids. And
Right.
your friends and your parents.
I'm not going to wait for Chris. I'm going to go give you hot and heavy right now. And he's like, what was that for? Because I wanted it. I wanted you to kiss me like that. So I'm like, I'm going to go take it.
Yeah.
But it made him smile, and it just changed the whole energy in it. And it's like, you know, thank God I have somebody in my life that I can do that. I don't have to wait for him for me to have the love that I want. I can go get it.
Yeah.
So go get your love.
Go get your love.
Go get
after
your
your
dreams.
dreams. Go after your desires. Figure out what it is you want. Until next Thursday, we will see you then. Lisa and Robyn on the mic on WSMN 1590 AM 95.3 FM. Have a great week, guys.